Sure. Thank you so much for the introduction today. And I think first of all, I'd like to say this is a collaborative effort. I just had the pleasure to be here presenting for you guys. I've been working with Dr. Joan Dorian, Dr. Victor Cabrera here at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And I think today one of the goals that I want to outline them for you, is first of all, we're going to go through a quick overview of the US dairy industry, what's happening right now. Then we're going to go through a few of precision dairy technologies available. So what are some tools that are available out there for farmers to adopt right now, or things that are being adopted? And then we're going to dive into the current scenario. So understand what's being used in the field, what farmers think about it, and address a little bit of some challenges associated with technology so far. Then we're going to wrap up with some educational resources on technologies and some take-home messages. I think the current overview of the US dairy industry, this is a scenario that is not news for everyone. This is a trend that has been going for a lot of years, where we see a decrease in the number of dairy herds and a consequent increase in the number of cows that are in each herd. At the same time, we have a huge challenge. We have labor shortages, we have problem keeping labor on the farm as well. So we have all of these issues. In addition, we see that the total cost of production per cow per year has been also increasing. And on top of all of that, the dairy industry still made a stewardship commitment to come to greenhouse neutrality, optimize water use, and even improve water quality by 2050. So if we think that we have labor issues, we have a greater number of animals being milked in each farm, we have greater cost of productions, and then we have this commitment to improve the use of resources. When you get all of this scenario, we have to think on improving efficiency. And one classic way to improve efficiency in operations in general, dairy operations, factories, is the adoption of technologies. So that brings especially into precision livestock farming. So I'd like to define it here first, that precision livestock farming, precision dairy technologies, they are real-time monitoring technologies. So they can manage animals on an individual level, and that data is collected through time on each animal. So what we see here is two graphs. The first one on the left just shows the number of research that's being done, a number of publications over time into precision livestock farming. And then on the right here, we see the use of certain devices that we're going to look deeper into the stock. So we have accelerometers in the blue line, having a huge increase on that. We have microphones as well. And especially in the last few years, we see a sharp increase on the use of image and videos for precision livestock farming. So technology is already part of our daily lives. Everybody has a smartphone. We have a lot of people that have smartwatches, smart glasses. I know a few people already that use them all the time. And if you're into sports, there are even more devices that can track your blood oxygen, your blood pressure, more steps, and just performance in general. There are other ways that technology makes its part in our daily lives as well, such as we have our home assistants, we have smart cameras that can recognize who's entering your house and open the gate, open a door. We have smart thermostats that allow you to regulate temperature from your house in a distance, so allow the house to self-regulate to be energy efficient. We have the vacuums, smart lawnmowers, and even the pet industry now. We have a lot of precision technologies aimed on looking at pet lives, how many times they use the litter box, it weights them every day as well. And more we start to learn and hear more about tools such as ChatGPT, Copilot, Google Gemini. There are these language models that people are using to write, to talk to, and solve daily life challenges as well. But then if we look on a dairy farm, the technologies, they look a little bit different. There's still precision technologies, they gather a lot of data, and they look a little bit different. We have a lot of like wearable technologies that we're going to cover. We see them here on the palette. We have different types of cameras that can be used. We have more and more drones. We have water troughs with scales, inline milk sensors, calf feeders, robots. There's a lot of options of technologies that can be adopted by farmers right now. And that amount of technology is just, it's almost overwhelming for farmers. There's just too much going on. Even for us, like at research and extension, it's overwhelming the number of technologies, brands that are available in the market as well. So one of our objectives today is just to go like do a quick brush through like the options of technologies that are available in the market, going from the most old ones and ones that are mostly adopted, that are the parlor technologies. We're going to look at wearable technologies, the cameras, and some of like the robots as well. So first of all, we're going to start with the inline parlor technologies, such as milk weights, milk composition, and milk quality sensors. These sensors, especially milk weights, they have been around dairy farms for a long time. Now a lot of them are digital and they're able to record that data for milk production on the animal throughout time. And the same thing that they can do with variables such as milk flow, milk composition. They can record protein, fat content on the milk over time on the animal. And especially now, thinking more and more in milk quality, we have a lot of sensors that can do the conductivity of the milk, somatic cell count, milk color, and all of those variables from milk weight to milk color, they're being collected over time. So we can have a baseline of that animal. And if there are any deviations within how that animal produces or any spikes in conductivity or abrupt changes in milk color, they can be picked up. And that helps us make managements on an individual level as well. Another category of technologies are wearable technologies. And these technologies, they're very close to our smartwatches, for example. I'm going to use here on this slide the ear tags as an example, and then I'll walk through the other ones. Because the wearable technologies, they're devices that are fitted on the animal. So on this cow here, we see like on the left side, she has like a blue tag. And this blue tag is equipment with accelerometers. Sometimes other technologies might use microphones. And they will translate that movement that the animal does when they're eating, when they're ruminating, when they're super active, running around, or when they're just relaxing, being idle. They translate those movements from that area of the body into variables that we can use to make decisions. So we can use eating time, rumination time to make dietary changes on the animals, understand when the feed is being provided for the animals. Activity is a very classic one that has been used for estrus detection a long time. Time idle or even sometimes resting time, depending on technology, can be used for as an animal comfort measurement, and also maybe parlor management as well. Another technology that we have available on farms are the collars. We have them available for both cows and calves, as we see here on this picture. A lot of them, like on the cow sides, they're going to monitor the time that the animal spends eating, ruminating, the time that the animal spends active, and just resting and idle as well. On the calves, they monitor mostly activity on the calves, and that can be associated with disease as well. So it's monitoring each of those animals individually over time, and it's able to pick up any changes that the animal has on its own behavior. Another type of technology that's super common out there, it's available for being used at the farm, are pedometers. These are pretty much like the smartwatches for us, right? It's a leg band that goes around the animal's legs. These are some pictures from animals from the university I was previously in Kentucky, where we had a lot of those wearable technologies to do research. So we have them both for cows and for calves. And a little bit differently than the ear tags and the collars, they measure other variables, such as the number of steps that the animal take, activity patterns in general, very similar to the other ones, but also they can give us variables such as standing time and lying time. And I mentioned before, like the idle time can give you a little bit of maybe a cow comfort index. And on the calves as well, lying time has been associated with the onset of disease. So if animals are spending too much time lying down on calves, might be associated with disease. On cows, that can be associated with stocking density, bedding management, comfort of the facilities as well. We get all of those measurements on an individual level that can help us not only make management of individuals, but also understand a little bit of the group and what's going on the group, the pen level, or the herd level in general. Another very cool technology that I like to talk about are rumen boluses. These ones, like I get a lot of questions about them, and they are pretty much like a giant pill that you feed to a cow. And then we'll sit here as we see on the reticulum of these animals. Different than the other technologies, you cannot remove it and put a new one. It's a technology that will probably be needed a surgical removal, which is interesting, especially if you think of traceability, which when an animal receives one of those bolus, it cannot be tampered with or changed. So this animal, we have a technology that is traceable with it throughout its productive cycle. It's very interesting that they can measure the temperature of the rumen of the animal. That can be associated with drinking behavior because as the animal drinks water, the temperature in the rumen goes down. So we're able to detect those peaks and valleys in temperature and associate that with water drinking. Good to make some heat stress decisions, temperature in general, to look at rumen fermentation, a little bit on heat stress as well. And some of them, they even do rumen pH, which is super useful to understand disorders such as acidosis and make dietary adjustments for the animals. And also, a few companies now are doing rumination time. As the rumen moves, they're able to do the internal rumination time that's going to be similar to the collars a little bit and be able to give us decisions on the dietary management of these animals. Now that we looked into the wearables, let's like move on a little bit to the cameras. And I'm gonna talk pretty much about three types of camera: body condition score cameras, lameness cameras, and behavior monitoring cameras. The first thing before we jump in, we have to understand that the camera on its own can't do much. When we use cameras or pictures and images, we use computer vision systems. And what are these computer vision systems? They're nothing more than artificial intelligence models that are trained pretty much to describe the world through images. They're capable of interpret an image, crop something out, measure, extract some properties. So what we do, we get an image from a camera that we have here on a pen of heifers, for example, and then we feed this image into a computer. We manually label this image saying, this is Betsy, this is Daisy, this is an animal eating, this is an animal laying down, this is what a fence look like. And then after we train these models, these computer vision systems are able to identify the animals individually, understand which behaviors they're performing. So if they are by the feed bunk and eating, or if they're drinking, like we see here, this animal on the right, if they're laying on the pack, or even detect manure, as we see here in the middle of the image. So by training these algorithms, they learn and can interpret those images 24/7, right? We spend too much time watching video. If we were to watch what every single animal on the farm is doing, it's impossible. pretty much. So we can train these artificial intelligence systems to monitor the animals for us. One very cool example about the computer vision systems is the use of cameras to do body condition score. Needless to say that body condition scoring animals is fundamental in dairy farms to understand um, when are the cows are going to calve, make breeding decisions, make dietary management of the animals, but it is subjective, right? We have the subjectivity associated with body condition scores. When we look at the rump of an animal, is it a U? Is it a V? We have a lot of variation between people and even within. I can score a cow today a 3 and tomorrow look at them and think they're a 2.5. So there's still a lot of subjectivity and it's not a very objective measurement. But what we can do is train these computer vision systems to transform the subjective measurement into something objective. Here's like a very cool example of a study that was performed here in Dr. Doria's lab. We have these two pictures here of the same cow. The one on the top was taken 3 weeks before calving, the one on the bottom at 2 weeks before calving. And then the same person gave a body condition score for this cow of 4. So on both times, a person went there, visually scored this animal, and gave them a body condition score of 4. And when we process these images through a computer vision system, what we see here in the bottom is a difference in the body shape of the animal. So it's not only interesting that the person was not able to notice this change, right? This computer vision systems, they're able to pick up changes that are unnoticeable to the human eye. We were not able to detect that difference visually. And we have to understand these cows, when we're doing body condition scores, they're moving fast. You're scoring 10, 20, 100,000 cows in a day. So you get tired, you're not consistent. So these cameras were able to pick up differences that we were not able to detect on the manual observations, and as well detect that in a consistent and more objective manner. Another very important thing that we do on dairy farms is the detection of lameness. So evaluate the animals for locomotion scoring. And this is another work that has been done here at the University of Wisconsin, is utilizing these cameras and computer vision systems to detect lameness on cows. Very like similar to body condition score, lameness and locomotion scoring is very subjective. But we were able to train computer vision systems that would detect key points on the animal, mostly on joints. And with that, use those measurements to track the locomotion score of the animal, walking speed, stride length, head bob, and back angle. So it doesn't only give us variables that we were able to measure visually, but also gives us a lot more measures that can be used to early detect lameness, or even sometimes use that information to see how are the animals doing post a treatment or something like that. There's a lot of opportunity to further develop these types of tools. Another application of computer vision systems is just behavior monitoring of these animals. So here's another work at the University of Wisconsin that was done. This one was mostly focused on feeding behaviors on dairy heifers. And one of the biggest challenges I think that we have in these types of systems is individual identification. So in this case here, the system was able to identify the animals very accurately, as you can see here on the video and on the graph on the top, and also was able to provide us with precise measurements on the eating time of the animal, the number of times that this animal visited the feed bunk, the duration of those visits, and the interval between them. Now, more and more, we're trying to work on those behavior monitoring cameras to do social interactions and try to find out that cow or that heifer that is being bullied so we can make management changes as well. So we have a lot of information about feed bank management here, attendance during the day, but at the same time, we will be able to identify those animals that are being bullied and think deeper into the future on a way that manages them differently as well. Now, we went through parlor technologies, wearable technologies, went through the cameras a little bit. I'd like to cover the robots, pretty much the automatic milking, automatic feeding systems. These ones are it's almost like the new kid in the block. We've had them for a while, but every time that I go to a farm that has a robot, it still has that wow factor. The automatic milking systems or the milking robots, they have several different manufacturers. And one thing that's very interesting is that they combine pretty much all the inline milking systems into just one equipment, right? They are able to measure milk yield, the flow, the composition, and also some milk quality measurements. At the same time, one thing that is super interesting in this types of systems is that you're able to do individual concentrate feeding for these animals. So it gives you a great opportunity to do individual nutritional management of your cows. So you can feed cows based on production. You can do dry off plans and try to balance that with a low energy pellet, for example. There's a lot of very interesting managements that can be done automatically using those systems. And some of them, they even come equipped with a platform that does body weight of the animals. So every time that the animal comes, we get a body weight measurement as well. So these systems, they generate a lot of data on each animal over time. And needless to say that cows visited them multiple times a day. Very similarly to the cow milking systems, we have the automatic calf feeding systems. And I think there are two very interesting setups that we have. First, on the bottom, one that it's super common, probably the one that most people are familiar with. It's an individual feeder where calves are grouped together. So we have one nipple, maybe two nipples per group where multiple calves can come and visit. If we see here on this calf on the right, on the ear on the right, it has like a RFID that the systems identifies the calves individually, and it's able not only to provide a milk meal that is tailored for that calf, but also measure the intake, the speeds, the number of visits that this calf comes. And some even come with a partial body weight scale, as we see here, that provide us body weight information on the calves. Some of them also come with an attachment that you can do individual supplementation of the animals, such as probiotics or electrolytes for calves in need. Another very interesting one for calves that are housed individually, now that's becoming a little bit more common, we have like a few being built, is this rail system, where we have a rail that provides each calf with milk as well, and it's also able to measure the intake, the speed, the number of times that the calf drank out of it, and you can program it based on each calf as well. So it collects data on each of those calves individually. But now that we went through all of these new technologies, all of these parlor technologies that we know have been out there for a while, the wearable ones, cameras that are kind of new, robots that are always exciting, is there anything new to watch? Should we be looking deeper into something else? And I think one of the cool things that we have are these new large language models. Like we talked about, ChatGPT, Gemini, they're pretty much artificial intelligence models that are trained to learn just associations on the text. They're training to learn that, and we can use that information to do integration of data on the farm, extraction of information, maybe some animal identifications. We can know that records sometimes that are a little messy, and we can type the number or the name of a cow wrong, or if a cow is bouncing between too many properties, it's able to understand that information a little bit better, and even has been used for a little bit of disease prediction. I want to illustrate that with an example here. There were like these researchers that they got 20 scientific manuscripts on transition cow nutrition and management. So we know that sometimes these scientific papers, they're hard to digest, hard to understand. And it doesn't matter if you're a researcher, if you're a farmer, a student, or industry representative, sometimes everybody struggles on understanding those. So they fed those papers into one of those artificial intelligence models, and they started asking questions to it. And when the model popped an answer back, what we saw is that the average score that these models were obtaining in technical questions associated with the transition period received a score of 7.5 out of 10. And we think that's a huge step towards the democratization of artificial intelligence information. And there are already a couple tools out there, like we have here on the screen, that allow you to put papers and to put those manuscripts into them and ask questions for you to extract. You can ask them to summarize some of the literature to facilitate that transfer of knowledge as well. Another cool example is the integration of data. Like we say, those models are trained to understand trend and how things connect. And on a farm, we have data coming in from different sources. So these models will be able to decode, clean, and just put the data all homogenized together into a database that it's easily accessible for everyone. Another thing that we do, we have a lot of handwritten data or a lot of just like typed information in herd management software that we end up never using. And we recently here at UW, we used all this written data through one of those language models, and we used to predict if a cow would get ketosis during the transition period. So we can use these models to further integrate and dig deeper into all the information that we have on farms and help us manage the animals. But the big question that we have is, are they being used in the field? So we did a survey here in Wisconsin, and I'd like to say this is an ongoing survey. At the end of the presentation, I have a QR code. So if you're a farmer or a farm employee and would like to participate in the survey, please feel free to scan the QR code. We so far have 58 respondents with 36,000 cows, with the farm average being around 600 cows, but we have farms that range from 15 to 9,000 cows in size. And when we asked if these farms, they adopt any of these technologies that we talked about earlier today, 80% of them said that they adopt at least one of those technologies. And one thing that it's interesting is that when we look at the divide of farms that adopt 1, 2, or 3 or more technologies, we see that a lot of these farms, they're highly technified, adopting 3 or more technologies. But then we also need to understand what it's being adopted out there in the field, right? And especially given the time that these technologies have been out, it makes sense that almost 83% of the farmers are adopting these parlor technologies. In some older research that's been done around 10 years ago, this number was 50%. So you can see a huge increase in the past years, and especially on the wearable side, we have them side by side with parlor technologies. Very interestingly, that like new technologies like cameras, automatic milking systems, automatic calf feeding systems are also being adopted by almost 20% of the farms as well. But we also need to understand not only what's being used out there, but what the farmers think and expect of these technologies. And so as part of this research, we asked farmers to rank from 1 to 5 their agreement to some statements, where 1 shows that they disagree with the statement and a 5 shows that they agree. And the farmers, when we asked them if they agree that the technologies allowed them to do better decisions on the farm, all the farms here, they really agreed that the use of technologies allowed them to make better decisions on the farm. But one thing that was very interesting, and we're working it a lot with students here and a lot with the industry, is that the farmers they highly agreed that by adopting technologies, the service that their vets, their consultants, their nutritionists can provide is going to be improved. So this is a huge call out for people to stay updated on these technologies, because if a farmer adopts them, they expect that the service provided should differ, and they should utilize these types of technologies in their daily routines. Another very interesting thing that we saw is that the farmers, when we asked them to react to the fact that there are limited educational resources on the use of technologies on the farm, overall, the herds tended to be neutral on it, but we saw that especially large herds tended to agree that there are limited educational resources. Maybe because those large herds, they can be adopting technology earlier, or because they have more technology usage, or even because the problems faced by them are specific to large herds and they're not very available out there in the literature. And especially when we look small herds as well, they're starting to tend towards the agreement. So we have to understand how to work with those two types of herds on the ends of the herd size spectrum as well. But now to start wrapping up everything a little bit. We talked about the technologies that have been adopted. We talked that farmers think that they can make them take better decisions, that they expect technologies to improve the service by consultants, but that they think that there are limited resources a little bit. There are many other challenges. I think first, there's a huge personal challenge for technology adoption that starts with digital literacy. A lot of producers are not aware of all the technologies out there, or even if they're aware, they don't know how to use it. Like I struggle with my phone and my computer sometimes. Data literacy is another thing. These technologies, they generate a lot of numbers, a lot of information, a lot of graphs. So knowing how to generate those, how to use them for management decision is a huge barrier still. And there are still farmers that are a little bit concerned about data privacy and security concerns. Another barrier for technology adoption is infrastructure. Like internet on farms can still be bad with bad upload and download speeds, or even have limited hardware. So limited people offering to sell technology in certain regions, or even limited service providers, people that can provide information, or even tech service if something breaks down, stops working, or there are issues. Another topic that it's sensitive for the adoption of technologies is what do consumers think about it? I think it's almost a double-edged sword, because consumers, they want transparency in the production methods. They want to know where the products are coming from, but is the use of data gonna make them agree or disagree more with the way that certain farms are milking their animals? The other part that it can be is how the data is being used. It's also another double-edged sword. So consumers tend to think that if the data is being used for the animal welfare and animal health, technologies should be positive. But if we're using data from technologies to do management decisions such as culling, that goes against some of their expectations and it's not seen as well. Also, they think that, does it affect the human-animal interaction? Can these technologies affect the time that the farmer spends with the animal and break that bond? And also, they have a little bit of some concerns about the safety of the technology themselves and the data from attacks. And especially as it was brought up by both on the personal And on the consumer side, the data safety and cybersecurity, I think it's important to understand why data safety is important in the dairy industry. As the dairy industry evolves, we're coming up to a scenario like that, where we have all the information connected that traces from the animal genetics to the farm, to the milk co-ops, to the retail stores, and to the consumers. So if we connect the whole chain and we're moving towards that direction, one thing that we have to think about is that these chains and these links, they're still vulnerable. They can be vulnerable to attack. And as soon as one attack is made, there are serious consequences. We have recent examples of customer data being leaked from retailers. We have co-op attacks being hit where it halts the production of a factory for a day, for example. We have farms having their technologies hacked and their systems hacked, and people asking ransom to for the farmers to access the data, access the software, and be able to run the farm. So data safety is important. We have to control who has access to the information on the farm, especially as we start to adopting these technologies. We have to cannot have like an open computer room for all the animals' records where everybody has access to it. We have to think on ways to make our data a little bit more safe. And because of those challenges, we created what we call the Smart Farm Hub, which is pretty much a platform to prepare farmers, industry, and students for this digital agriculture era. And we really want to democratize like this AI and technology knowledge to help people understand what's available out there and how to manage farms with this technology. So we have a QR code here that will take you to a link tree with our website, our survey, our Instagram page. And our team in the Smart Farm Hub is composed of UW faculty of different areas, ranging from economics, animal welfare, computer science, animal science, and a team of postdocs, including myself, graduate students, and undergraduate students as well. We are doing this transfer of knowledge, especially on technology, through extension articles that are published on trade magazines, on our website as well, recorded webinars such as this one. We are working on a technology list that farmers will be able to access and see what's available out there, everything that's been available and updated. And also some decision support tools, social media. Especially, I would like to thank Dr. Renata Carneiro for providing us with the cybersecurity data. In our Instagram page, we have a short video of her speaking a little bit more of the importance of data safety in the industry. So please check out our Instagram page and check out Dr. Carneiro's video as well. And to wrap up, I think that we have to think that we spent all this time talking about technologies and how it can improve management, everything that they measurement, how they can be used, but we have to understand that they're tools. They're not solutions. We have to understand which technology is up for the challenge. What are the farm's needs and which technology would fit best? Of course, we also would need to understand how to use this technology to improve our management. And always there are some challenges that may arise. So how can we address those challenges that technology might bring to our farms? So now, like as a last slide, again, technologies are tools. They're not solution. And they will generate a lot of information, a lot of data that will allow us to make decisions on an individual, group, and herd level. But if you don't use any of this information, it's pretty much a bad investment, right? It's almost like that treadmill that we buy and it sits like on the corner of the house and we think that we're going to lose weight just because we bought it. It doesn't work like that. And of course, it comes with challenges. If we adopt technology, we have to change how we manage our farms. We go from doing just cow-based knowledge to some data and cow knowledge on how we're going to manage the farm. We still have to understand that there are few actionable insights. There's, besides breeding, the technology will not tell you what exactly you need to do with that animal. So you need to understand a little bit of the animal, a little bit of the data to try to make a decision out of that. There's, yes, the cybersecurity uh, concern and the resource availability as well. So with that, I'd like to thank you guys for your attention, and once again invite all the farmer employees to participate in our technology survey. Visit the Smart Farm Hub and just feel free to scan the QR code. Thank you.